بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. عمر ibn Abdul Aziz rahimahullah ta'ala wa radiya anhu, he was a great Khalifa of this deen. He died in the year 101 after Hijrah, the great grandson of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And even though he died at approximately the age of 40, and his Khilafah was only for a period, his rulership over the Muslims was only for a period of approximately 2.5 years, he is regarded as a great Khalifa of this Ummah. And the efforts that he achieved and the virtue that he achieved is something that many of the Khulafa after him were never able to attain. Imām ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, he mentions the incident when Umar ibn Abdul Aziz passed away. He mentions that when death came to Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, then he said, "Make me sit up. Make me sit up." So then they made him sit up, the people that were there. And then he said, "Ya Ilahi, O my Ilah, O my God, my Lord, yani Allah. Ya Ilahi, Ana alladhi amarta. I am the one that you commanded. فَقَصَّرْتُ, yet I was deficient. And I am the one that you nahayta, I am the one that you prohibited. You told me not to do things. فَعَصَيْتُكَ, and I disobeyed you. He says it 3 times. When he's dying, death approaches him, he says to his family members, "Make me sit up." And then he says, "Ya Ilahi, I am the one that you commanded and I was deficient. And I am the one that you prohibited, yet I disobeyed you." He says it 3 times. And then he says, "La ilaha illallah." And then he begins to look with a strong stare. So then they ask him concerning it. The people around him, they ask him, "You're looking with a strong stare." He says, "Indeed, I see faces that I've never seen before, faces that are not jinn, and nor the faces of an ins." And then he passed away. In another riwayah, in another report, that when death comes to him, he says to everybody, "Leave, depart, go out." So everybody leaves, everybody exits the room. And then when the door is shut, his wife and the wife's brother, they put their ear against the door and listen to what's happening inside. And they hear him say, "Marhaban, welcome." Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is saying, no one else is in the room, only him, he's dying. "Welcome, marhaban, welcome, welcome to faces that I've never seen before, faces that are neither the faces of a jinn nor an ins, of a jinn nor a human being." And then he recites the ayah, "Tilka darul akhirah, that is the abode of the afterlife. Naja'aluha lilladhina la yuriduna 'uluwan fil ardi wala fasada wal 'aqibatu lil muttaqin." That is the abode of the afterlife. We have made it for those who desire no form of haughtiness and arrogance and corruption upon the earth, and the end result it shall be for the pious ones. And then there was silence. So then his wife, his brother-in-law, they all come inside the room. And they find that the eyes of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, they are closed. He's lying facing towards the Qibla. And he had passed away, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So the question, how does a person, no doubt, Husn al-Khatimah, this is a good end, wouldn't you say? A person who dies like this, and he's making muhasabah, he's taking himself to account at death, and then he says marhaban to these faces, and then he recites from the book of Allah at the time of death. These are from the signs, from the indications of a Husn al-Khatimah, of a good end. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant every single person here and anyone that is listening a good end. No doubt these are the signs of a good end. But how does a person get a good end? How do you achieve a good end? Allah Jalla wa Ala, He has said in His book, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi. O you who have believed, fear Allah as He deserves to be feared. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. And don't die except in a state of Islam. Don't die except as Muslims. I.e., if you live your life upon taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you live your life fearing your Lord the Most High, if you live your life with a life that is rich in iman, then you're going to find when you are making that gharghara, when you're making that gargling, when your soul is being taken out of your body, Allah will keep your feet firm. Allah will keep your heart established upon the truth, and you will die upon that. How? By living this whole life upon taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By living this whole life righteously. If you live righteously, then you're going to find at that point Allah will keep your feet firm. Allah will keep your heart steadfast, and you'll have that husn al-khatimah. You'll have that goodly end. Another example that is more closer to home, i.e. that is more closer to home as far as time is concerned, and as far as location is concerned, as far as the era that we live in is concerned, and as far as the land that we live in is concerned. An example that we have, that we can take heed from, of our elder, all of us sitting here, our elder, our teacher, our brother, the noble da'iyah, Abu Talha, Dawood, the son of Ronald Burbank, rahimahullahu ta'ala rahmatan wasi'ah. This brother, Dawood Burbank, who each and every single one of us we are in debt to, because of what he put forth in the service of Islam and the Sunnah in the whole of the Western world. This brother, Allah Jalla wa Ala, guides him to the deen of Islam. And then He guides him to talab al-ilm. He guides him to seeking knowledge. Where? He guides him to seeking knowledge in the city of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam. And then when this brother comes back, he engages in da'wah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thalathat al-usul, this book, 3 fundamental principles that I hope each and every single one of us has at the very least studied to some degree. This book was translated by whom? This brother, Abu Talha, Dawood Burbank. Other books, several books before anybody else was translating them, it was this brother, Dawood Burbank, translating these books into the English language, calling people to the Sunnah. Lectures upon lectures, Kitab al-Tawheed, Silsilat al-Ahadith al-Sahiha of Imām al-Albani, books upon books that he taught, engaged in da'wah to Allah for a period of 2 decades. And then 6 years ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed from His hikmah, from His justice, from His mercy. He decreed Abu Talha, he goes to perform Hajj. So he goes to perform Hajj, and he arrives at Jeddah airport. Him, his wife, and 2 of his sons. They board the bus. The bus is to take them to Mecca. On the way, the front part of the engine, of the van, of the vehicle, of the people carrier that they were in, It blows up. So then they all start to get off the bus. The driver gets off. Everybody else gets off. His son gets off. As soon as he gets off, the engine, it blows. The whole vehicle, it catches flames. So they're trying to smash the windows so that they can cause Abu Talha and his wife to come out. Nobody was in the vehicle anymore except Abu Talha and his wife. The vehicle's engulfed in flames. Everybody else that is surrounding it, they're crying, watching them while they're burning. And then he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he and his wife, rahimahumullah, they passed away in those flames. The shahid, that this here, we don't say that they are in Jannah. We don't make shahada they are in Jannah. But we say that these are signs. These are signs. These are signs of a husn al-khatimah. Signs of a good end. Signs of a good death. Signs of a good and noble and virtuous way to depart from this world. How does a person achieve that? If you look at the situation, look at the signs. Died in a fire. The one who dies in a fire, the Messenger of Allah, he said, is a shaheed. The one who dies in the fire is a shaheed. Secondly, he is now coming to perform Hajj. He's coming to fulfill a pillar of his deen. He was in a state of ihram, having been making the talbiyah, saying, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, saying, Oh Allah, here I am at your service. There is no partner that is to be ascribed to you. Here I am, O Allah, at your service. Abu Talha rahimahullah, where is his janazah performed? His janazah is performed in the mahbat of al-wahi. His janazah is performed in the place where revelation came. His janazah is performed in the house of Allah, in the sacred house of Allah, at the Kaaba. His janazah, his funeral is performed by 2 million people. His funeral is performed by hujjaj, by pilgrims that have come to purify themselves for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This type of death, do you get it just like that? Does anybody get it? They said, Abu Talha, before the vehicle stopped, he wanted to pray Salatul Dhuhr. He wanted to pray Salatul Dhuhr. After, when the flames had died away and they got into the vehicle, what did they see? They found Abu Talha and his wife. They found that the hands of Abu Talha were on his chest. Why? In order to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to finish that salah that he was praying, knowing that he's going to die. So he wanted to pray in a state of worship to his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Praying, they found him knowing that he's going to die. He wants to die in a state of ibadah to Allah. So he prayed while the flames are engulfed around him. He finished his life in salah while flames are engulfed around him, dying in that way. Does this death, this type of death, is it granted to anyone? Is it granted to anyone? Or does a person have to live to that death? Earn that death? Work towards that type of death? Again, we don't say he is in Al-Jannah. Allah knows his state. وَلَا نُزَكِّي عَلَى اللَّهِ أَحَدٍ. We don't praise anyone above Allah. But these are signs. Signs, and not anyone and everyone gets these type of signs if those signs are true to him. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Allah is telling us, Allah is advising us, Allah is counseling us, don't die except in a state of Islam. How are you going to do that? How are you going to die in other than a state of Islam, other than a state of Iman, other than a state of taqwa, other than a state in which your Lord Jalla wa Ala is pleased with you? The only way that you're going to do so is by living a life that is righteous, living a life that is pious, living a life that your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves. Abu Talha rahimahullah ta'ala, Everybody knows that knew him. Everybody knows that knew about him. He was a man that was a man of zuhud, a man that was a man of abstention. He wasn't bothered. If you looked at him, you would know he wasn't a man that was bothered about the worldly life. A man that was born in Islam? No. A man that was born not in Islam, in kufr. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him out of the darkness of that disbelief, and He took him and He brought him into the light of Iman. Al-Allama Imām, Sheikh Rabi' Ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafidhahullah ta'ala, an Imam. What did he say about this man? This man that was not born in Islam, but was guided to Islam. What did he say about him? He said, I love you more than my son. Sheikh Rabi', Imam, he says about Abu Talha, I love you more than my son. And then this man that was born in the Diyar al-Kufr and born upon Kufr, he died in such a great state. Abu Hakim Hafidhahullah ta'ala, he says that many times Abu Talha would say to him, I don't want to die here. I don't want to die here. I don't want to die in Dar al-Kufr. I want to die in the lands of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He caused him to die not just in the lands of Islam, in the land of Tawheed, not just in the land of Tawheed, but in the city of Al-Wahi, in the most beloved city to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do you get this? Are you going to get this just by wishful thinking? No. You have to earn it. You have to work for it. You have to earn it and work for it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, بِأَسْمَائِهِ الْحُسْنَى وَصِفَاتِهِ الْعُلَى, we ask Him by His beautiful names and His sublime attributes. We ask Him by every single name that He has, every single name that He has revealed in His books, every single name that He has taught His creation, every single name that He has kept hidden with Himself, every single name of His. We ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala that He causes every single one of us here, every single one of us that is listening, to die upon Islam, to die upon Iman, to give us a husn al-khatimah, that when we are making that gharghara, that when we're going to make that gargling when the soul is being taken out of our body, because each and every single one of us is going to be in that state, that He causes us at that point to die upon a state of righteousness, in a manner that, in something that is beloved, in a state that is beloved to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He grants all of us an honorable death, a death that is virtuous, a death that is honorable, a death that is beloved to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, a death that is magnificent in His eyes, great in His eyes, mighty in His eyes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And upon that note we shall conclude, and this is the conclusion of the series of lectures on these brief lectures on the lives of the Salaf. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us those who truly, in speech and in action, emulate our righteous Salaf, and that He makes these brief, small sittings as a proof for us on the Day of Standing, and not against us. إنه سميع مجيب وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.